maybe we should segue a little bit then into those patients. So we've talked about first relapse we're seeing a lot of pomalidomide use, a lot of daratumumab, elotuzumab emerging again in different combinations. What about some of the new drugs you've heard about at this meeting or in ASCO? Adriana, what's got you excited?
Raphael has mentioned a couple times Venetoclax specifically for the 11-14s.
Well, let's talk about that now. What do you know about that drug? What should you tell the audience?
That it does have a response rate. I would remind everyone it's not only for the 11-14s. It just seems to be a much higher, deeper response for the 11-14s. It is an oral medication, and it does combine well with other medications, again, as the data come out in little bits.
Tom, you were an early adopter of Venetoclax. It's approved for CLL, not approved yet for myeloma, we should be clear. But you've been able to access it for some of your patients.
Well, so it is a very expensive drug, and therefore if patients make less than a certain amount of money, the company will actually provide it for you for patients with myeloma, which is great. So we've used it in quite a few patients. It is, a BCL2 inhibitor, which nobody thought would really work so well in myeloma, but if they're probably a quarter to percent or more that actually do have overexpression of BCL2 pathway proteins, and this drug works quite well. It seems that the biomarker is 11-14, but not everybody with 11-14 respond, and some people who don't have the 11-14 also respond.
It's an important point for the audience that because we have this drug available now, a lot of the FISH labs don't routinely test for 11-14, and we certainly need to encourage that to happen.
The other point is the dose is slightly different from myelomas to
It's quite a lot higher, right? So
yeah,
800 milligrams is the final dose.
Yeah, so
and not a lot of tumor lysis.
No,
so you
yeah,
don't have
so
to be...
side effect-wise,
What
really
dose do you start at then?
So I've gone with what the clinical studies go in at. Well, so the initial clinical studies had a ramp up, and then the later clinical studies just went in at 800. So I've been going in at 800. But
are you impressed with activity?
I've had some amazing
11-14 only,
in
or?
the 11-14s. Yeah. We also took part in the study that was presented this morning with the carfilzomib and the Venetoclax, and we've had some good responses in that study as well.
Tell us about that, Tom. I shut them off earlier.
So that study was for all comers. It had a dose finding part, and then they went in with the 70 milligrams per meter squared of the carfilzomib once a week, and the Venetoclax at 800, and amazing responses as you'd expect. I think it was 100% of the 414s responded, but there was a group of the other patients that also responded, and that's going to be the key question moving forward: is can you identify which patients are going to be the ones that have that great response of them?
Raphael, there's been both a bortezomib, Venetoclax, and now a very exciting, I agree, this 100% response rate in carfilzomib Venetoclax treated patients with 11-14. Do you think this is a drug that's beyond 11-14 or not sure yet?
I'm not sure yet. I think the important group is 11-14. I think it might help other patients, but I still want to see more data because a lot of those patients would respond to proteasome inhibitors as well too. But I think the data, just like Dr. Davis was mentioning, is impressive. I have patients with relapsed refractory myeloma progress on every single combination I could think of. We're on CRs now with a very good quality of life, by the way. The toxicity profile is very good, very well tolerated drug.
Unfortunately, it doesn't last forever. My initial feeling that I'd cured everybody didn't pan out. They all started to relapse at 12, 18 months. So I'm thinking it's probably not a single agent drug eventually, but you mentioned earlier perhaps it's a maintenance or even 11-14 upfront drug one day?
I think it should be upfront. I think for the 11-14, and with a caveat we're still defining that, it should be upfront. It should be a sensitizer, and if we're going to use K or we're going to use bortezomib upfront, I think Venetoclax should be there. Should be part of maintenance. I mean, why? When you look at 11-14 over the many years, it used to be a good prognostic factor, and then it just became, it didn't move because the other agents helped all the other versions of myeloma, but 11-14 was not helped. I've always believed because they have smaller cells, so they're more lymphoid biology, they don't have the stress in the protein. So we need to do better for those patients, and even some series now show a more aggressive course for 11-14.
What about, sorry, go ahead, Anna.
I was going to say, there was, I think, an abstract presented at the meeting. I don't know if it's presented yet, but in reviewing the abstracts, showing that 11-14s don't seem to do quite as well as other standard risks. So even though we clump it in the standard risk, they do deserve the special attention.
And I think that's the point Raphael was making. It used to be low risk, but as the other categories improve with new drugs, it kind of got left alone. So we now have a drug for that.